Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be just an easy, everyday, kind of fresh summer vibe sort of makeup look. And without further ado, let's get started. First thing I want to say is in the summertime, this is my go-to hairstyle. I know that it's not the most beautiful hairstyle in the world, but your girl loves a French braid and it's so easy. And this is my go-to t-shirt. I mean, this is a Friends Thanksgiving episode. What more could you want? Anywho, let's get on with some makeup. So today we're going to start with the base and I'm going to go in with this primer. This is the Ordinary's High Adherence Silicone Primer. I've only used this like one time, so I'm excited to give this a try again. I just ordered a couple of products from The Ordinary, a couple of their skincare products that I'm testing out, so I want to make sure I give those a good try before I give you any sort of opinions, because skincare sometimes takes a little bit of time to get used to, so I'm going to continue using those and I'll keep you posted on what my thoughts are once I've used them for a while. So for foundation today, I'm actually going to use the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Tinted Moisturizer. This is in the shade Light 5N. So I'm just going to pump this onto the back of my hand. This is more of like a light coverage. It's not really a foundation. It's a tinted moisturizer, so it isn't going to give you any sort of crazy coverage. It's just going to kind of even out your skin tone and just make it look hydrated and even. Some of these like more stubborn areas on my face I'll cover up later with concealer. I'm doing the same technique here that I typically do with all my foundations. Just going with a brush first, and then I will go over top of this with a sponge. Once I have that pretty blended, I am just going to take another pump and just use my sponge to kind of build up some areas where I want a little bit more coverage. Okay, so like I said before, this is not going to give you any sort of like crazy coverage. It's just going to give you like a light wash of color to just kind of get that base looking even and to help with redness and things like that. This is something that's like a really nice product to use if you're just like running out the door and you just want to throw something on to make yourself look a little more put together. You could throw this on in a little mascara and go. When I use a product like this, I do like to use a little bit of a more full coverage concealer to help balance that out in the areas where I need it. So today I'm going to use the Tarte Shape Tape, and this is in the shade Light. And I'm just going to concentrate this under the eye area where I want to make sure it's nice and bright, down the center of the nose and on the chin here, where I do have some more problem areas, and a little bit on the Cupid's bow. I don't want to go overboard because I still want this to be like a fresh, like summery type of a look, but I do just want to cover up the areas that I feel less comfortable shining through, and also just make sure the center of the face is a little bit more brightened, especially in the areas too where I tend to get a little bit more oily. I want to make sure that those are kind of covered and we look like a flawless base for the whole day. Okay, now that I feel like that's pretty blended and in a good place, I'm going to just set the face, and I'm going to go in with the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder. This is in the shade 05 Fair. Just go in with my Morphe M536 brush and set the under eyes. I want to make sure that the under eyes and the T-zone in general is pretty set. These are the areas that I tend to get oily, and I know a lot of people tend to get oily in the T-zone. And these are also the areas where I really don't want the makeup to move. Even with like tinted moisturizers and less pigmented products, it's still so important to set your face in order to help with the longevity of your makeup. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that with my Maybelline Fit Me powder. This is not the loose powder. It's the same thing, but it's just in a compact. And that is in the shade 110. And I'm just going to lightly press that on the other portions of my face. Okay, now that the complexion is looking even and one note, we're gonna go in with a little bit of bronzer. This is also another step that I really don't like to miss. I feel like even when you're doing kind of an easy throw on summery type of look, it's really important to still pay attention to your entire complexion. And there are some shortcuts that you can take with like your eye makeup and your eyebrows and things like that, where I think that you can, you know, take out some steps, but I think it's important to make sure that your skin looks good and your base looks good, even if you're using products that aren't quite as pigmented as what you would use for, say, like a full coverage base. So for this today, I'm going to use the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer in the shade Sunlight. I really like this one because it's super soft and blendable and it's not super dark. Some of the bronzers that I have are a little bit darker than this. This is a lot closer to my skin tone, and I think that this is a lot easier to not go overboard and to just get that nice sun-kissed glow. When I'm doing looks like this too, where it's kind of more like a sun-kissed summery type of look, I like to take my bronzer almost onto my cheeks because I just find that it blends so much nicer with my blush later, and it also looks super natural. And then I'll also just take it across the nose too and under the nose just to kind of get that sun-kissed look. So for highlight today, I'm going to go in with highlight and then blush. I'm going to use the Glossier Highlighter Concentrate in the shade, Pale Pearl. This is in the shade Pale Pearl. I like this one because it just really looks natural and it's super glossy. Obviously, it's Glossier, so it's going to have a glossy finish. What I like to do with this guy is I will just pop it on the high points of my cheek like so. And then I'll just take my finger and pat this out kind of on the cheek there, and I will bring it kind of up toward the brow. I just find that this makes it look really natural. Makes a really pretty natural glow. You want to make sure you're really gentle with putting cream products on top of powder products. You don't want to be blending too much. You just want to make sure you have a light hand. I'm just going over with my sponge because you don't want to move those products that are underneath. So I'm just going to do the same thing on the other cheek. Okay, now that the highlight is done, I'm going to go in with blush first, and then I'll go in with highlight on the center of the face afterwards. So today for blush, I'm going to use one of my absolute favorites. This is the Honest Beauty blush in the shade Coral Peach. This is what it looks like. It's a cream blush, but don't let that scare you. I know sometimes people get nervous with cream blushes, but this one is really great over top of powders. What I like to do is I'll put a little bit on just a foundation brush like this and tap off the extra on my wrist or hand or something. And then I will go in and tap it on my cheeks and up kind of into where my bronzer is. And it just blends really nicely with the highlight too. For a look like this, I don't want the highlight to be too intense, which is why I like to do the highlight first so that it can blend in with the blush. This is one of my favorite shades too. I also have the Peony Pink shade, but I was kind of in the mood for a coral blush today. Now, once I've got the pigment that I like, I'll go over the bridge of my nose as the last touch. And then I will take my sponge again. I like to use the side usually that actually has the excess foundation on it and just blend out that blush so it blends in nicely with the bronzer and with the highlight. I like to go in initially with a brush because I just think that it applies a lot better and gives me the pigment payoff that I want, but then blending it out with a sponge just helps with the harsh lines. Today for powder highlight, I'm going to use my Natasha Denona, what is this called? Diamond and Blush palette, which I've used before. So today I'm going to use the JH09 brush, and I'm going to tap into this shade, Glow Extreme. It's the powder shade here. And I'm just gonna put that on top of where we highlighted before to kind of bring back a little bit of that highlight. Not too much, but on the cheeks is where I want the most highlight. And then I'll just put a pinch on the nose and a pinch on the Cupid's bow. And just a little bit on the chin because I'm extra. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna take the Glow shade. This is the cream, this like purpley looking one. And I'm just gonna use the same brush and just take a little bit of that and tap off the extra and just kind of use this almost as a blush topper just on the apples of the cheeks. Since it is kind of like an interesting shade, I think it works well as a blush topper, not as like a highlight. So now that I have that on, I'm going to go into my sponge one more time and just blend everything out for the final time. And then once all that's complete, we'll move on to the eyes. Okay, I went ahead and did my brows off of camera. Today I used the Glossier Brow Flick. Before today's eyeshadow, I'm going to use the classic OG Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. It is, she's beat up. She's seen better days. I've used this so often. This is one of my ride or dies. It's a beautiful palette, so many neutrals. I think it's so easy to use. There's just so many things you can do with this palette. And I think for today's look, since it's gonna be just like a wash of color, I thought that this was a perfect palette to use because it has so many neutrals and really beautiful. Okay, yep, perfect. So this is gonna be super simple, like literally 2 or 3 steps for the eyeshadow. So today I'm going to go in with the Morphe M504 brush. This is a nice big fluffy brush, and I'm going to dip in. Sorry, there are not shade names on here because I have the old palette. So I'm just going to dip into this 3rd shade on the top row, and I'm just going to dust this all over the crease and the actual lid. Just dust it all over. This does not have to be any sort of like precise situation. You just want to get color on your eye. And then what I'll do is I'll just take the exact same brush, dipping into the exact same color, and I'll just pinch the brush and just go right under on the lower lash line to make sure those shades kind of marry together. Then I'm going to take a smaller brush. This is the JH37 brush, and I'm just going to use a little bit of a darker shade. It's the shade right underneath of it, this color right here. And I'm just going to pop this on the outer corner and in the crease. Summertime, glowy. I'm also just putting that shade on the lower lash line. Then once that's complete, I'm actually just going to take my finger into this first shade here and just press a teens into the inner corner. And honestly, that's it. That's all I would do for this eye look. And then I will just throw on some brow gel and call it a day for the eyes. Okay, I threw on some brow gel. This is the Glossier Boy Brow in the shade Clear. I wanted to make sure the brows stayed nice and fluffy and they just looked super feathery. I am obviously going to pop on some mascara, and I'm going to use the classic L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Paradise. So I'm going to pop that on the top and bottom lashes, and I'll be right back. Okay, before I do lips, I want to talk setting sprays. So you kind of have 2 options here. You could go with a more luminous, dewy kind of setting spray to kind of bring a little bit of that dew back to your face after you put on those powders. Or if you're someone who knows you're going to be outside all day and it's like a hot summer day, you could go in with a setting spray that's a little more long lasting. And I have the two right here that I would recommend. So for a long-lasting setting spray, the Urban Decay All Nighter. This stuff is amazing. It locks your makeup in. It will not be moving at all. I think that this would be a great setting spray if you are planning on sweating or something like that, where your makeup may break up. This would be my pick. For a more luminous setting spray, I've been enjoying the Colourpop Pretty Fresh setting spray. So I really like a more dewy look to the skin. And since I did put on quite a bit of powder, I really want to bring that dew back to my skin for today. So I'm going to go in with the Pretty Fresh one today. Okay, now that we've talked setting spray, let's talk lips. So for a look like this, you could keep it super neutral and just pop on a gloss and go. I kind of want to see what a more bold lip would do for this look. So I think today I'm going to use the Flower Beauty lipstick, Petal Pout Lip Color is what it's called, in the shade Hibis-Kiss. It's kind of like a pinky fuchsia, reddish kind of color. So I want to go in with this, but I am going to line my lips really quickly and then I'll pop this on. Okay, the lips are lined roughly. I don't have a lip liner that totally matches this. So I went ahead and just like mixed two kind of, and just like blended it out slightly with my finger because I don't want any like super harsh lines, but I do want to have like it mapped out because I find it tough to map out your lips purely with lipstick. So now that the lips are mapped out, I'm gonna go in with this. Okay, now that the lip is on, I'm really liking how this is looking. This is kind of like a bright lip, summery type of look with an easy eye. If you wanted to, again, you could just go in with a gloss or you could put a gloss over top of this. I think I'm gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna pop on the Bare Minerals gloss in the shade Sugar. Just a little bit in the center especially, and just kind of tap it out right in the center of the lips. So now with that, that completes today's look. Again, a nice like summery, glowy type of makeup. And again, this was using a tinted moisturizer, not a regular foundation, and I feel like the complexion looks really nice. It turned out really good. And I'm really liking the way this looks. I wish it wasn't 9 p.m. And I could wear this all day, but you know, the plights of doing YouTube in the evening. But yeah, that guys is the end of today's video. Make sure you stay tuned for my next videos coming up this week. Also, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel, and also turn on the notification bell if you want to know every single time I upload a video. I upload videos on Mondays and Thursdays. And other than that, have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye guys!